Hey, you guys, I'm Dominique Murray back with another episode of Make It Happen Sis, the podcast. And if you guys notice a little something different about today's episode, we are actually shooting on location. I am here with my dear friend, Miss Renada, who is going to introduce herself in just a second. As you guys know, with life and when it comes to being entrepreneurs and working women and moms, mother, all of that, you got to work your schedule around a lot of different things. So that's what we ended up having to do. This episode has been a long time in the making,
Yes.
but I'm glad we were able to get our schedules together and sit down here today to talk with you all. And we actually have a co-host today who's not on camera, but you might hear her in the background. We've got my little baby with us today too. So be prepared for some interjection every once in a while, but we're going to roll right into it, and I'm going to head over to you, Ms. Ryder. If you want to go ahead and give your elevator pitch, kind of introduce yourself and
yes,
your business.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Dominique, and hello to everybody. So my name is Renada Bonham, and I function in many roles, so I'm just going to name them really quickly. I am a business owner, which is what drew me to Make It Happen Sis and connect with Dominique. I have the privilege to market the brand of Mary Kay Cosmetics and Skincare. I'm an independent sales director, and you can find me on Facebook. Yes, I know somebody's excited about it. You can find me on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram as well. And I just enjoy connecting with women. I'm also involved in ministry as an ordained elder, and oh my gosh, a wife, a mom. I mean, you name it. It's like we do it, or I do it. So I hopefully can connect with you guys and educate you more on the skincare side of the house. But today I know we're going to talk about something that deals with a little more on the emotional side with business and balancing all these hats that we have.
Exactly. Well, we will get into the emotional intelligence side of it, but I do want to hear a little bit more of your background. So how did you get started with Mary Kay?
Oh, wow. So I had a lot going on with my skin, y'all. I relocated from Alabama to Georgia, and I was a Mary Kay kid growing up, using Mary Kay products and always going in my mom's bathroom and taking her products. Yes, so you have girls, and using all of her stuff. And so when I moved to Georgia, she was like, okay, you're on your own, right? You're just gonna have to figure it out. And I was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, a friend of mine, she was a representative at the time, and I was just trying to get to a class because I was like, I need to get the uneven skin tone situation fixed and all that. And sure enough, I went to the party, got started on the products, and I was just my own walking billboard. I wasn't really looking to build my team or do anything like that, but it just happened over time. And let's see, February, I'll be celebrating 18 years with the company. So excited. I'm telling you, I love being a business owner and an entrepreneur. And so for those of you that are watching today, it may be one of those things you're contemplating about becoming a business owner or an entrepreneur. And sometimes destiny you just stumble across it. So that's really how I got started. In a nutshell, she's so sweet. So yes, and then from there I just continued to build and expand the brand of my own as far as what my unit is responsible for. We call ourselves the B3 unit because I'm very musically inclined as well as a director of worship at my church. So the B3, of course, in the music world is a Hammond organ. But for us, it stands for Bold and Beautiful Believers because we do, we're not trying to be offensive to anyone at all, but we do love God, and we just want to represent the love that is on the inside of us through the vehicle of Mary Kay. So we get to enrich lives, women's lives, and men now. One family, one face at a time is our goal and our vision. So that's a little bit about me and my team.
Yeah, 18 years though. That's amazing.
You can imagine.
How has that been for you? I mean, you kind of explained it, but like, I know a lot of people who get into, network marketing and certain things, whether it's tiers and stuff, it's difficult for a lot of people, but
yes,
it is. Have 18 years.
It is.
Like, how has that been?
Of course, it's like we talk about in the sound and music world, it's like the EQs, the highs and lows of life. And shout out to 1212 Music too. I'm involved with a music recording studio in Macon. But yeah, you just have your ebbs and flows, your highs and lows of life for sure. And even in business, and a lot of times it's not even just you personally, it's what's going on in the world. So this Mary Kay, the company, is celebrating 60 years this year, but it's been through recessions, all of that started in 1963. So you think economically all that we've been through as a nation, as a society. So even, being an entrepreneur, we have to consider that, you may be doing all the things right with marketing and all of that, but then it may be societal things that cause you to shift or have to pivot. So it's been a lot, but I enjoy people. I feel like this is a people business. Now, we do have quiet people on our team like you. But, when it comes to working with other women, like, women are just awesome in banding together and supporting each other, especially when we can relate on a level of marriage or children or even entrepreneurship. And I feel like the people are the reason why I've continued to keep coming, and to see people get saved and their marriages get better, their families get better. And I'm like, all because we were just sitting at the table talking about skincare. And then it just evolved. So yeah, people are definitely my why I've stayed.
I like that it's kind of like a vehicle for your ministry, and you're doing two things at once. It sounds really amazing.
I love it.
So what would you say is the main thing that has contributed to your success when it comes to
oh gosh, definitely having a life of prayer. And my personality too is just I have a go-getter spirit. Like, I'm competitive. I love football. I love sports, but I just have that mindset, like a winning mindset. Like, no matter what comes my way, especially if, professing to know Christ as my Savior and knowing what His Word says about me, then I feel like, okay, I know I'm a winner on the front side. And do I always feel like a winner? Absolutely not, But I have to tell my flesh that my flesh does not have a vote in this, that, I'm going to overcome whatever obstacle because I choose. And I really learned about the power of our will. If someone wants to will to live or will to be great, they will have what they say, you know what I'm saying, and what they put their time and effort and energy into. And so I would say that's what's kept me, is just having a personality of, I come from a military background too, like you. And so you meet a lot of people, you see a lot of things, and you go a lot of places, and it really helps shape your perspective of what you want to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go. So I would say it attributes a lot to my personality, and just, the love of Christ that I have. And my prayer life, is strong. My faith is strong. And that has kept me, because I've been through some hurdles now, with people. People, they're so great, but depending on where you are in your life, they can hurt you. Yes. And it stings a little bit sometimes. But then learning how to think like a retailer and just do business. Hey, and just do business. She's gonna come in the camera now.
I know. She's like, I'm gonna find a way. Okay, you stay over there.
Yeah, but keeping business and personal separate is very important. Yeah. So
I'm just, again, all of the 18 years of that, and I think what you said, being in prayer and your personality, which it's funny because it ties into today's episode all about emotional intelligence, like all the things you were mentioning when it comes to having that willpower, and it sounds like taking those thoughts that you have sometimes when you don't feel successful, and like your flesh just kind of takes over, and checking that, that's all a part of emotional intelligence. And so with that, I do want to shift a little bit and talk about that. A recent article on INC.com, it had highlighted that a study shown that EQ explained over 89% of the variance for entrepreneurial success.
Right.
So that's more than just plain intelligence. Any other thing when you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, like being successful in business, I think the last thing a lot of us think about is that emotional intelligence. And a lot of people don't even really know, what that is. I know it's been a buzzword here and there, but can you, I know you've done some classes on emotional intelligence. Can you kind of give us more of an overview of what that actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had the opportunity to teach an emotional intelligence class in my church and attend some classes as well on a professional development level. And it's funny that you mentioned that. And I do want to just slide this in here real quick, for the comment that I made about my personality. There may be people watching today that, it's like, dang, I really have that desire, but, I need some help, just kind of, some people need help to get off the launching pad or the like the frog, the leap pad there, so I do understand that, and having the right mindset of people around you will help. But as far as emotional intelligence, we we spent so much time over the years talking about IQ, how smart somebody is. And all that really is so my background, y'all, is in engineering as well. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, so I'm very methodical, but it's really just a test that determines from society's view how smart you are. But I believe that now people, like you were mentioning about the INC web.com site and the survey that was done, people are understanding that I can't just treat you like a robot. If I do this, then you'll do this. No, not at all. So EQ allows us to really tap into where we are emotionally as a leader, because you have so many personalities of people that you're dealing with in business, in life, period. And we have so many things that are attributing to people's personalities. You think about how popular therapy has become now, because people use words like trigger, and that is true. Because when I taught the class from the spiritual standpoint, before we went clinical, we did talk about that. Like, you got to know your triggers, what you like and what you don't like, and how you want to be treated, how you want to treat other people, or what makes you upset, or what gives you that ability to have that drive. And then you take that, and of course, depending on what kind of business you have, if you're leading a team, like my son is in franchisement, whereas I'm more of just marketing a brand. So there's different types of business, but you have to be able to funnel all of that into your day-to-day practice, how you interact with your teammates or your employees. But yeah, it's really just, to give you guys a definition, is using your emotions to think and enhance your reasoning when you're dealing with people, and how to, because, people, we always say, what you think about, you bring about. And when people feel like they've helped create something, they'll support that which they create. So you think about that on a team level. And what I like about, for those of you that are wondering, like, oh, do I have a high EQ or a low EQ? Most of the time, someone that has a high EQ is someone who is really managing their emotions and facilitating that from a way of how they think and understand others. So yeah, that's a big thing too.
No, and I really like that definition that you gave, because I feel like you kind of took it, and it's where you're using your emotions, like you said, to enhance the situation. And a lot of times when we talk about emotions, it's kind of looked at negatively, right? Like, you don't want to be emotional. You don't want to. People try to just stuff the emotions down, and that's exactly like what EQ is not. It's not about stuffing those emotions down, ignoring those. It's really understanding them, managing them, and then using them, like you said, to read other people and understand their emotions. Because if you've got that intelligence and you're dealing with someone who may not, you're helping the situation and kind of helping them get to where they need to get.
That's a good point, because some people's strengths, may be that you can cultivate other people's gifts. And maybe you cultivate it with a more stern, these are the boundaries, but there's people out there that can relate to that. Whereas there's others of us, you got to kind of coddle us a little bit, and then we'll come on along. I got to get to know you a little bit before you start cracking the whip. So you're right. EQ allows room for everybody's personality to be included and to be cultivated and grow. So yeah, I love that.
So with that, we're going to talk about kind of with the work that you've done and thinking of it when it comes to entrepreneurs. How have you seen the need for EQ in your specific field? So I know you've already seen working with other people, but can you go more into detail?
Oh, yes. So even my even my 9 to 5, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in 2023 is that people function. So like, for instance, let me try to give an example. We could all be on a team and have an event coming up. And you can have a leader that is constantly sending messages, reminders. And, some people are going to be like, why are you doing this? Like, I'm not a child, or, I'm an adult. I know what to do, blah, blah, blah. But it's like the Holy Spirit had to help me realize, what? This is their personality. They have to do this to, for whatever reason, maybe to check things off the list for themselves. Maybe it gives them security in allowing other people to do things for them. I said, okay.
I'm laughing because you're describing me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That was,
you know.
and I'm trying to, like, I'm currently working with a group now. We're working on events, so and I'm trying to not do, so I'm like completely like being in, but we're getting closer to it. And I'm like, I feel myself like,
oh yeah.
Okay, no,
and I totally feel that. But I think what we miss sometimes is when we have, and you may not be able to do this in the very beginning when you start working with people, but if you have a team of folks, and I think about our Make It Happen sisters, you know, it's good to just take some time, and maybe we can do this actually, take some time to just learn each other's personalities, do some activities that help you realize, like in Mary Kay, we teach about DISC, and the D personality is your result-oriented person. They're the ones that, hey, just tell me what you need, when you need it done, boom, don't call me, I promise you it'll be done by the deadline. The I personality is like me. I am very recognition driven. I love for people to say, good job, you know, I got you a cupcake or a cookie, thank you. You know, I mean, I love prizes, I love to be loved on. And then you have that S personality that we call it is steady. I don't want to say slow and steady, but just steady in what they do. They plan out everything they do. Everything is about, you know, most of them are very family oriented, and the family has to be the why. And if it doesn't connect back to the family, I promise you they're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to make them, you know. So for some of you all that are retailers, maybe trying to figure out, well, why this person won't sign up with me, or why this, you have to help them realize, how is this benefiting their family first. And then your C personality, I'm also a C as well, very methodical, very, you know, I think you're a C personality too. Me and you, we like to write things down. I use the agenda example. For instance, like if I'm up teaching, I'm going to have A, 1, 2, 3, B, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to hit every one of those points. Your D personality is going to go A, D, Z, B. They're going to be, you know, but they'll never lose what it is that they're trying to say. Me, sometimes I can't, and I've learned over the years how to flow, you know, but that took a lot from my personality. So I say that to say, you know, maybe taking some time with your teams, whether you manage them or supervise them or whatever, even if it's a networking team, take some time to do some personality type drills so that when it comes to those events, people know, okay, Dominique is very methodical, so she's not trying to, you know, hound or harp on us, you know, she just not my pastor always talks about leading at a macro level versus a micro level. You know, and it's like when we're at a micro level, it's like we're worried about all these little things. When you lead at a macro level, it's allowing adults or professionals to be who they are. And then, you know, you circle back every now and then. You know, you can't get, like we always say, you can't get too much in the weeds. So that micro is too much in the weeds, and then you kind of leave the bigger picture out of it. So, yeah.
You have mentioned something. I wanted to go back to it, and I just lost it just that quick.
About the personalities.
Well, with that, and you're saying, you know, doing network, you know, team building kind of things, getting to know the other people on the team or people that you're supervising. And I think it's also good, you know, for people to kind of, we were talking about the different ones, like you said in Mary Kay, you have the D, what is it?
Yeah, the DISC.
DISC, and I know there's like Myers-Briggs, and there's all these different personality tests that really do help you kind of identify who you, because a lot of people don't even know, like they're functioning and they don't recognize, like, oh, you know, if you're going by the colors, like, oh, I'm an orange personality. Like, they don't know, they just do. And so that's really good to on the individual side, like, get to know yourself a little bit more, because that kind of starts you off when it comes to the emotional intelligence of it all.
I agree totally.
So why do you think that EQ is so tied into entrepreneurial success? We're going to go back to that article that I was talking about.
You know, because life, as the young people say, I'm not old, but, you know, they say life is out here lifing. And it's like, you know, anytime you set your mind to do something great, you just bet your bottom dollar there's opposition coming. Like, you just better know it. And it's just by design. I don't know why. I'm not the creator of the universe, but it's just anytime we set our minds to do something, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, life starts coming. And we have to be able, we use the word balance, and I'm careful about that word, because I'm like, will we ever have balance? Because soon as you think you've got everything leveled out, it's like, here comes something else. You try to pick it back up, and then something, you know, so I always call it, I'm spinning plates. I got, mom and wife and all this other stuff going on. I'm like, okay. But I just think that it's important for us to be able to try to manage everything as a business owner, because you think about it one day. I think about my son and working in a world where he's franchising, and you have numbers and projections and things that you have to meet. Well, this week you might have met your quotas every day. The next week is something completely different. But do you give up? Do you go inward and think, oh, it was me? And a lot of us do. We're always going to look at ourselves first. But just being able to remember, you know what, as long as I'm tracking towards the goal, whatever that goal is for the quarter, for the month, for the week, as long as we're tracking towards that, yes, we'll deviate, because of life. But I think EQ helps us remember, you know what, I'm driving. It's like you're driving along in the car, and then all of a sudden you got to swerve to the left because somebody is coming at you from a different angle that you didn't anticipate. But what our tires do is, because they're in alignment, they allow us to be in alignment. So I think that's what EQ does for us as entrepreneurs. It just helps to keep us aligned.
I like that.
Yeah.
I do like, and I agree. I think that, especially like you said, using your son as an example with franchising, even in like your business or with Make It Happen Sis, things are going to happen. Like,
yes,
it's not like
absolutely.
You said you might have a rock solid plan, but something is always going to change.
Something is going to try to deviate.
And it's that using that emotional intelligence to keep going, keep persevering, keep showing up and talking with people and doing the things you need to do. And it's funny because you mentioned balance. Lately, I've been like, I don't like that word either, because I feel like you can never balance it. Like, something's got to give every time. And like, just using myself as an example with Make It Happen Sis, and with being, you personally, like with kids and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, so this has got to go on the back burner for a little bit, so now I can focus on this and this. And it's having that emotional intelligence helps manage all of that, and helps kind of make it feel like, okay, I'm not a failure, I'm not this. So it's so much to it, like just in everyday life that you need. I
agree. And I think EQ helps us a lot to just be steady. Like I said, 18 years in, that's commendable, because one thing, and I'm not trying to harp on anybody that has ever had a business and stopped, and didn't return, because there are some things that are for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. I get it. But I often think about our customers, our clients, that when we start something, we've said from the beginning, is bigger than us. And a lot of times, remember I said that, my reason are my clients, because I might have somebody buy something this year and I won't hear from them again for another 5 years. And I think it's amazing when they hit me up and say, hey, you still sell Mary Kay? Yes, I do, because, and I think people ask that question because they are so used to instability, because we see a lot of instability in a lot of places in the world today. And I just want to be that one person, if I can, that can provide and offer stability to my folks.
I like that.
So, yeah.
So what are your tips for people that are wanting to, so say this is someone's first time hearing about this, okay, got this EQ, how can I increase my EQ? How can I learn more about my EQ? What tips do you have?
Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend, personal development. Along the way as a business owner, you need to always have something in place where you can be accountable, where you can talk up to someone. It's nothing wrong with talking vertical, but talk to someone who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt that you can check in with and can remind you, you know what? I may not have gone through that, but I've gone through this, and this is how I'm going to help you pivot. So be accountable. That's the first thing. And give yourself some room to grow and breathe and spread your wings. Like an eagle, we start out as a little baby bird, and then we eventually grow into that full-blown eagle that's got that wingspan of, I forgot the numbers, but it's huge, what I'm saying? And so we can soar. So I feel like as a business owner, we have to have things in place for ourselves, whether it's therapy, our girlfriends groups, whatever we can to continue to generate ideas, be balanced, have fun, enjoy life, but plan. We teach that in Mary Kay. You plan your work and then you work your plan. a lot of times things just don't happen because you didn't plan for it. It's not because you did anything wrong. Then there's other people that just start a business like, boom, they're millionaires in 1 year. It's like, what'd you do? They're like, I don't know. I just started. I mean, and that's fine too. But yeah, I think understanding yourself and knowing if you are a hard nose about things or if you are too soft about things and need to have a little more, ownership in the room, and your voice, understanding your voice in the room as a leader. And I think we say this all the time in Mary Kay, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. True. So EQ helps us do that. It helps us always keep the people's needs on the forefront, because when our teams are great, even us, when we feel good, look good, everything around us is good. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice, for sure.
Okay. And let's see. So speaking on that still, with that, say someone is, when it comes to their EQ, they understand it, they know EQ, but they know themselves, and they're like, okay, so I kind of go off the rails a lot, or I know some people say, like I'm a hothead, or I just have like a short temper and stuff. Right. How can people work on that side? It's like what tips do you have for that?
That's a good question. First, thank you for acknowledging yourself. That's the first thing. Acknowledging where you are. And so when you create that business model, for instance, if I'm a hothead, but I know I need to make a certain amount of profit in a year or whatnot with my business, I still need to surround myself around people who can help me do that. I'm not saying be a hothead, but be you, but surround yourself around, like, you need a methodical person that's going to help you stay on track with deadlines, goals. You need that person, your assistant or whatnot, that can help you be the felt need arm that you need, the extension of who you are. So I would say find people that can work with you, that can be an extension of who you may or may not be at the time, because your team won't know. They'll just know, I like working for him, or I like working for her, because they're always on it. But they don't realize it's a team of people behind them that's making it happen. Because I don't think any CEO, entrepreneur, whatever, we don't have it all together. We are not that well rounded. Yeah. we evolve, but it's because of the people on our team that's helping us. So yeah.
That's so true. And do you think, and this kind of just coming up with everything that's going on, because I know for me, and I know we're talking about entrepreneurship and stuff, but I've noticed in my own, so I feel like there's different types of EQ, or not different types, but you have it differently with different things. So you're like, I know when I've done, what is it? I don't know if it's leveling, but I've done one of those personalities. Yes. They're like, okay, you do this for home and then you also do it for work, because it's different, right? And so like I've noticed with myself, just being a little vulnerable person. So like my EQ when it comes to just dealing with everyday, people, life, things like that, I feel like it's pretty good. Like I'm pretty self-aware. And like
you are.
I can, check myself and do all the stuff I need to do. But when it comes to, say, children, I think we were talking about this a second ago, the EQ is like, it goes out the window.
Honey, it's like a whole other handbook for that.
Right? Like, and I just think that's so strange that you can be strong in one area, and then like another area, you're like, okay, what's going on here?
And I think it's a couple ways. So one thing I want to say to people is where you are is where you are. That's the first thing, and that can go either way. And I always say too, you take you wherever you go. So that's another thing. But what you were saying about just being able to shift, I think a lot of times as women, that's a little hard for us, because either we're super strong, say on the mommy side, and we take those same traits into the business world, or vice versa. Super strong when it comes to handling our business, and then when we get home, we're handling our business, but then there's that emotional side of handling business that we're like, oh gosh. And I will honestly say, I think that takes time to, I know we're not trying to use that word balance, but I think it takes time to get there, depending on how long you've been married, how old your children are. And the interesting thing about, like, with your kids, my son's grown, your kids are little, and what my son went through back in the late 90s is completely different than what your kids are dealing with now in 2023. Like, so I think we have to give ourselves some grace And some of the things that we learn about personality styles does work across the board, even in our marriages, like you said about the 5 love languages and the personality test. I think that those are good things that are foundational for us. And then you begin to tweak it a little bit based on the specific needs that our children have or our spouses have, even on our jobs. You know, like we know this is the culture of our organization, but we may have somebody on our team that has a terminal illness. So we know we have to pivot a little bit, you know, to be supportive of them while still getting everything done. So.
And then, do you have any books that you recommend when it comes to
Oh
EQ?
my gosh, yes, there was a couple, and you know, and it's funny. I was looking for one in particular, and I could not find it before we got online. So I'm definitely, hopefully, we can put it in the notes for people, because there's a few books that I've read on emotional EQ, one on the spiritual side, one on the clinical side, to give people both versions. But yes, of course, always read books, you know, dealing with entrepreneurship, you know, read articles like you were on inc.com. You know, that's the biggest thing. And it's like our brains, sometimes we feel like, gosh, can we grow anymore? Like, do we have any more capacity for information? But yeah, but I'll definitely provide a couple of books for the people.
Yeah. And then, so we're going to wrap it up on this on camera. I think I would love to talk more with you on
absolutely.
just EQ in general, because I'm fascinated kind of when it comes to personality stuff.
Me too.
My background's in sociology with people, so I do like that, but I like the mind stuff too. It's really interesting. So for people that want to find, I know you mentioned you do music as well, so we'll talk about that.
Oh my gosh.
How can people find you, follow you? What like, you have so much.
I have so much
to offer.
It's like so many gifts. I won't say trades. So yes, you all can find me on Facebook for Mary Kay. It's Renada Bonham, and then you'll see all my pages pop up. I have an artist page, I have a Mary Kay Facebook page, and my personal page. So all you have to do is just type in my name and find me. On Instagram, it's at official Renada Bonham. So yeah, that's how they can find me. Email me, call me, text me.
All right, well, thank you so much, Renada.
Yes, thank you.
Finally
did it.
Got this episode. Sorry, y'all don't see what's happening in the background over here. But we're going to call it a wrap, you guys. Again, thank you for tuning in. This has been season 1 of Make It Happen Sister Podcast. We have some amazing guests on here, and I would love to have you back.
Yes, thank you guys for watching.
Bye.